I think the process of writing is, as it's discussed, is often about the process of starting to get up and writing. Once you're really there, you can write at any time, anywhere. But a routine for me was important, and it was mostly for me. I lived in Kentish Town in London. I'd get up, get on my bicycle, cycle to the British Library, have a cup of coffee. By 10 o'clock I'd be up on the third floor in the Science 3, which is the quietest section of the British Library, at one of the desks there, and I'd sit down and sort of breathe, and I'd do it however I felt. This notion that inspiration has anything to do with anything is what amateur writers deal with. Professionalising yourself is to write whatever mood you're in at the time your routine tells you you must write. Because I think it was Somerset Maugham, when he was asked if he had to wait for inspiration, he said, "Inspiration, my boy, comes every morning at 9 AM sharp." And it's true. I wrote some of the best stuff I ever wrote in the worst kind of moods, uncreative moods. You just have to bloody well do it. That's the only advice really I have to writers, is until there's something on the page, you have nothing. And for a first-time writer who has that special story that they've always wanted to write, they have a notion that somehow the first draft of it has to be great, that the first time it pours itself out, it has to be great. Ernest Hemingway said the first draft of anything is shit. It's true. You know, writing is rewriting. It's over and over again. My first page must have been edited 50 times, 100 times. It wasn't even in the same person in the end. It was in the first person. I started it in the second person, and then it was in the third person, and then there was another character turned up, and it became a novel about two characters, and then the novel was in the first person and the third person. You know, it evolved, it changed. I had a load of visual, I visualise things, I visualise scenes, that's probably from film, and I write everything scenically. There's never anything in my novels kind of that says, for 3 days they travelled across the desert, blah blah. Everything is always set in a specific moment. You might have a flashback saying it had taken them 3 days to get here, but each thing is a scene. And I saw a number of scenes. I saw a man in a canoe on a fjord in British Columbia with the fog beginning to come down, and suddenly a killer whale rises up right next to the boat, arcs up, and the tail comes up and goes down totally silently right next to him. And I saw a Circus of the Grotesque in 1900 in the middle of Central Park with my native Canadian First Nations guy walking through it, just here in the very church of reason, you know, the heart of rationality as he had it described in the big city of New York. Here at its very heart was a circus of the grotesque, all the dark spirits of the nighted forest, all this kind of, so it was kind of an anti-Heart of Darkness novel in many ways. But I knew I needed to get to that circus of the grotesque somehow, via him, you know, with his killer whale coming up and down, and a couple of other visual scenes I had. And so I would write towards those scenes. Mostly I wrote on the computer, but not always. Some things have to come out longhand, and then they get transcribed, but most of the novel was on the computer. I had that 1,000 words a day trip. That's it's a classic, isn't it, of writing, you know, 1,000 words a day. Churchill said it, others have said it since. That's how you write, 1,000 words a day. Graham Greene wrote 500 words a day, every day. For me, I was thinking 1,000 words a day. And I would just sit there until I had. Sometimes I'd be done by 11. I'd have written 2,500 words in an hour. And sometimes I'd have written 600 words by 5 p.m, having been there since 10. I'd just sit there until I'd done it, until I'd done something. And it's interesting because I'm in the process of trying to get my second novel up and running now, and it's much harder than a new academic. I'm the first creative writer here in this department, so I'm having to found creative writing to get it up and running from scratch, if you like, and not quite from scratch, that's unfair to my colleagues, but you know, it's tough. I've got to learn to be an academic as well, because you know, I was doing my PhD by distance learning. You know, I've never been in an academy before. I had no idea what was going on. When I got the interview for Leicester, and not many people in this department know this fact, but I'd finished my PhD, I was down on my luck, I'd finished my novel, I'd found a literary agent, they had no contract, no nothing. And I'd got another job as a location manager, working on a TV commercial for Butlins. And I was down at this holiday camp on the south coast in Bognor Regis, filming this TV commercial with this giant green furry dragon walking round this holiday camp that I was location managing when I got the interview. And I hopped on a train, pretended I was going somewhere, came up here and gave, you know, was interviewed all day in this very sort of oppressive academic environment, and then hopped off back down to my green furry dinosaur on the south coast. So it's been tough to learn the job and to write and to find the kind of routine that, you know, I've been describing. You have to get up and running. Once you're up and running, doesn't matter. You can write any time. But I haven't found it yet for my second novel. Penguin have paid me a pile of money for it, and it's due at the end of the year.